Today, I'm comparing two popular cordless circular saws, the DeWalt DCS391 and the Bosch GKS 18V 57G. Both are 18-volt tools, both run brushed motors, and both target the same audience, DIYers and professionals who want mobility without sacrificing power. On paper, they seem to have a lot in common, but when you start looking closer, the differences become more interesting. Let's begin with the DeWalt DCS391. This saw has been on the market since around 2014, but it received an upgrade in 2015, with its motor being bumped up to a 5,150 RPM speed. That's a pretty high no-load speed for a brushed motor. One of the key selling points of the DeWalt is how lightweight it is. With the battery, it weighs between 2.9 to 3.2 kilograms, depending on what pack you use. In the hand, it feels surprisingly light but still solid, with a magnesium shoe that adds rigidity without bulk. The handle has a familiar DeWalt rubber overmold, and the saw is well balanced when held with one hand near the trigger and the other on the front grip. Switching to the Bosch GKS 18V 57G, this one's slightly newer, more modern in design, and clearly aimed at trade users. The motor is a bit slower, 3,400 RPM compared to the DeWalt's 5,150, but that doesn't tell the whole story. Sometimes a slower RPM with more torque can handle dense material better, though in this case, we're just comparing specs and physical impressions. The Bosch is heavier, about 4.1 kilograms with the battery installed. That's a noticeable difference when you pick it up. You can feel more mass at the back and slightly more resistance when pivoting it from side to side. But what you get in return is a sturdier, more aggressive build. The base plate is robust, the protective guards feel thicker, and the tool overall gives off a Jobsite-ready vibe. In terms of design, DeWalt has gone for a clean, minimal aesthetic. Everything is yellow and black, with relatively few exposed bolts or labels. The Bosch, on the other hand, leans into a more industrial look, deep blue plastic with red adjustment levers and clear white markings. I will say, the Bosch is easier to read and adjust when it comes to depth and bevel settings. The markings are bigger, and the levers feel firmer and more confidence-inspiring. DeWalt's adjustments are okay, but feel just a bit less precise in the hand. Now, both saws come with a standard 165mm blade, but the kerf and the tooth profile will depend on what blade you use. The Bosch came with a 165 by 20mm general-purpose blade, and the DeWalt also ships with a similar size. Both support bevel cuts up to 50 degrees, with the DeWalt locking in slightly quicker thanks to its more streamlined lever. Bosch gives you a bit more clearance when adjusting the angle, but it requires a bit more force to move. Looking at accessories and usability, the Bosch has a real advantage when it comes to dust collection. It's compatible with the Bosch Click and Clean system, which means you can connect it directly to a dust extractor with no adapters. DeWalt has a dust port too, but it's less integrated and may require adapters depending on your setup. If you're working indoors or in finished spaces, that could be a big point in Bosch's favor. Another thing to point out, the Bosch GKS 18V 57G is designed to work on guide rails, which is huge for people doing sheet work or precise long cuts. DeWalt's DCS391 isn't rail compatible without modifications or third-party solutions. So, in terms of future expandability and system integration, Bosch clearly has the edge. One more interesting contrast is in the blade positioning. The DeWalt DCS391 is a right blade saw, which means if you're right-handed, the blade is on the opposite side, and you don't have direct line of sight to the cut. The Bosch GKS 18V 57G is a left blade saw, giving you more visibility along the cut line if you're right-handed. That's a subtle but important ergonomic factor that influences user experience over time. Some people strongly prefer one over the other. Now let's talk about the handles and grip. DeWalt's saw has a more vertical handle angle, which feels natural if you're coming from their other tools like drills or impact drivers. Bosch's handle is more horizontal and offset, giving you a better grip when pushing through tougher material. It's a slightly different feel, and neither is better by default. It depends on your hand size and cutting style. Battery systems are another factor to consider. If you're already invested in the DeWalt 18V XR ecosystem, the DCS391 makes sense. It fits perfectly into that platform. Same with Bosch. If you're using Bosch professional 18-volt batteries, this saw is a solid addition. Neither saw includes a battery or charger in the base model, which is pretty standard for these naked tool offerings. Now let's touch on pricing. As of now, the DeWalt DCS391 XJ is priced at about £160, while the Bosch GKS 18V 57G sits closer to £169. That's a pretty noticeable gap. The question becomes, are the extra features on the Bosch worth the price difference? For a beginner or occasional user, probably not. But if you're working more often, value the dust control, rail compatibility, and don't mind the extra weight, the Bosch justifies the higher price. To sum it up, without jumping to conclusions, the DeWalt DCS391 feels lighter, faster spinning, and more nimble. It's great for portability, quick cuts, and general-purpose jobs. The Bosch GKS 18V 57G, on the other hand, feels more substantial, like a workshop tool you can take on site. It's more versatile with better dust collection, rail compatibility, and better cut visibility for right-handed users. This comparison really shows how different two tools in the same category can feel. You'll want to match your choice not just to specs, but to how you work, what you're cutting, and what platform you're already invested in. If you've used either of these saws, I'd love to hear your impressions in the comments. Are you Team Bosch or Team DeWalt? Or maybe you've got a third option that beats them both. Either way, thanks for watching. And if you're looking for the Makita comparison, that one's coming up next.